So we're going to do yet again another Transformers Slag podcast Patreon listener question. Once again, if you're interested in joining the Transformers Slag Patreon, it's patreon.com/protoman. What does your hard-earned money get you when you support the podcast? Well, it gets your name in the end credit scroll at the end of every segment moving forward. You also get access to the Transformers Slag podcast Patreon, where we have some cool stuff. We discuss all kinds of stuff. News breaks there. We have the deals section. We have the lore section with all the new stuff that's happening with Star Saber. You want to learn about Star Saber? Check out our lore section. A lot of cool stuff there. We also have our gift box. Depending on what tier you're at, I'll send you some cool stuff in the mail through the old snail mail. And, of course, the Patreon listener question. Because this is a special one, I brought back JAWZ.D for this one.
Ahoy, hoy.
So JAWZ.D is with us today, and we're going to tackle this one because I felt he would. I want his take on this too, and it's good to bring back JAWZ.D on the podcast once in a while and let everyone know that he's still kicking. He's still kicking.
I'm still here. I'm not dead. I still function.
He's still around. So we got a Patreon listener question from patron Rampage, and he asks here, "Hey Proto, been a fan of the podcast for a long time. My question revolves around the studio series. I want to know if the notorious Skids and Mudflap will ever get studio series figures. I ask since some people say that some say will, or one way or another, they won't get one due to their controversial nature. With there not being a clear answer in sight, I hope this will hopefully someone could set the record straight. I personally think that they will make them since the studio series always sells like hotcakes. What do you think about the twins, and will they get toys? Stay safe, Proto, and happy summer, and stay safe, JAWZ.D." I'll just add that in.
Thank you.
Mr. Rampage. So I'm just going to give my 2 cents, and then I want you to kind of jump in afterwards.
All right. No problem.
So the first part is, like everyone talks about how, controversial these 2 characters were. And I hate it when I see that kind of stuff because, it's like, oh, well, just because 2 characters have kind of like a stereotypical kind of hood nature, that right away is like, well, they're controversial characters. I don't know. I met guys like that in real life, like especially with the high school me and you went to, you know. And even when I first saw those 2 characters, I looked at them and like the first thing that went into my mind was like, is this like Transformers Flava Flav and Lil Wayne? Like I literally thought it was that. Like I almost thought that they were the voice actors. Like I was
really?
Like, I don't know why. I was just watching and going like, because like these Hollywood movies, they'll just pull up some like C-list celebrity and go like, hey, do you want to like voice a robot? So it was just me going like, did they get Flava Flav? Or is it Flava Flav playing himself, or is this a bit, right? Then, of course, obviously doing the research, I found out that, Skids and Mudflap are voiced by Tom Kenny and Reno Wilson. Obviously, Tom Kenny, SpongeBob SquarePants, Dog from Cat Dog, Rabbit from Winnie the Pooh, obviously, Starscream from Transformers Animated. But, Tom Kenny doing characters, like he played a sponge, he played a dog, he played a rabbit. Now he's playing, I guess, an offensive robot, according to people. And then Reno Wilson, he's a black guy himself. And he did a whole bunch of Transformer voicing in the past. He did Frenzy, he did Mudflap, that we're mentioning today. He did Brains, he did Mohawk and Squeaks. Like in all the movies, he's done somebody, Very talented voice actor and stuff. And they even did an interview with him, and they asked him like, what they thought of the racial stereotypes of Mudflap. And Reno Wilson himself, and this is an exact quote, he said that he was told to do a wannabe gangsta type, and at the time he was inspired by Kevin Featherland.
Ah, okay.
So like even what he was doing was like white boy wannabe gangsta, So like it's something where on top of that, like the whole controversial nature, I always found that like, like have you ever watched a Spike Lee movie? You know what I mean? There's one character that's going to be like that. Not everyone's
but usually with a Spike Lee movie, you have a variety of people.
But that's what I'm trying to say. There's
black people aren't a monolith.
Exactly.
So it's always very like you always get this person and that person, the older guy and the younger guy, and it's just a nicer. It's like a more broader picture of what everybody is, as opposed to just
exactly. And especially considering the fact that, like a character like that would exist in that movie. But I mean, at the same time, even the opposite side of good film like Spike Lee, you know, you could have stuff like, you know, Drinking My Juice in the Hood, you know, where it's just like don't be a menace to society while
drinking your juice in the hood. You mean the parody movie?
Which is like the complete like flip side of that, you know, which is like parody and everything. And then you have characters like that too. So it's something where, as someone that grew up around it, I wasn't offended by it primarily because I knew people like that, but that doesn't necessarily reflect all of black culture, you know, let alone black people. Not to mention, like, people are so quick to forget, like, anyone remember, you know, JAWZ, who was just in the last movie? You know, at that time, anyhow.
But he's dead.
You know? But the point is, it's like, you know, literally...
Was he the first Autobot to go in that movie? I think so, because I mean, you have Pound, you have...
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he was. Technically. If we don't...
He went out... I mean, like, you know, black guys are the first to go in movies, but we go out pretty hardcore. It's like... Yes, it's like you kill us with a nuke.
Yeah. 2 pieces. But I mean, so I just feel that, you know, I think the controversial nature, it's and I've said this many times, it's people that I always find the people who tend to be offended are the people that are the least connected to it, you know, like, and I just for fun, and I don't want to poke fun at the TF Wiki all the time, and I'm known for doing it, but I went to see who wrote the controversy section. You know, that said like, oh, I was offended by, and you know, it's just, that's all I'm gonna say. It's just like I don't know. It's to me, I want to hear it from someone that would actually like again, what was your take on those characters when you first saw them? You know,
I think at the time when you're in the theater and you're trying to make sense of everything, and you know, there's like, I'm underneath enemy balls. You don't really notice it super hard. But I mean, like, when you not think about it hard, like you're watching it and you're like, well, how come they're saying they don't read Cybertronian very well? That's a bit odd. You know, and you're like, and then like, you know, everything's moving super fast, so you don't get to see their face extremely well. But then like you see that, which one's the green one?
That would be Skids.
Skids has like the gold tooth.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say I was like, oh my God, hardcore offended, because I mean, they don't last that long and they die. But I was just like, why did they go in that direction? And also, maybe they could have gotten the point across more that, like, you know, you were just saying that the voice actor was like, oh, I'm going to be a wannabe, so he's going to play him up more like
that was literally
a wigger kind of thing.
Yeah, and
I wish they could have gotten that more across in the movie, that they were being wannabes, as opposed to like doing it. Well, and I think that would have came off a little bit differently, but
and not to mention, like, he was guided to be like that too. Like that was like his, I guess, voice direction. I don't know who the voice directors were for this, but I'm pretty sure someone could chime in on that. But you know, and it was his take. But you know, and like you mentioned, like the gold tooth and stuff. Like, people have also said, oh, well, look how, you know, ugly the characters were. They were made to look ugly on purpose. I don't know, man. Just between you and me, most of those movie designs are pretty ugly. So, you know, like, like, it's just, I mean, that might be a hot take for some people, but you know, I think a lot of those designs aren't that great. You know, so it's like, like
I mean, one thing that I did like about their design was when they first showed them, and they were like the combiner ice cream truck.
Yeah.
Before they got their like, you know, smaller car, their individual thing going on. So I mean, in the case of the question where they ask if there ever be new toys of them, I could probably see, I would want to see, and I would probably want it. I could see the ice cream truck part, but I mean, it's such a quick part in the movie. It's like they're not an ice cream truck very long in that movie.
Yeah,
you know?
It's the
and
opening
then the rest
scene.
of the movie, they're with the humans, and they're the ones having to transcribe the Cybertronian to them and everything like that. Like, you know, that's their part. I think for me the weird part was like hearing I guess Mudflap, you know, I'm like, that sounds like SpongeBob, but being a wigger. That's a bit weird.
You know what? And especially
it's not the first time he's done that. Where I think the closest he's kind of come, like, not wigger, but more doing like a black thing where he's with Squidward, and they're delivering pizza for Krusty Krab, and he starts doing like the soulful singing at the end, like Krusty Krab, yeah, you know, that part.
And that's Tom Kenny.
Yeah, which is it's extremely funny, and you know, black kids have definitely parodied that and done their own little spin on it too. So
well, and especially like to kind of like also go into the second part of their question, which is like, do you think that those toys would ever be made today based on that controversy? I think they'll happen one way or another. I mean, obviously those characters fell off, and people are like saying, well, they were so controversial that they were removed from the second movie. And, you know, in the original scripts and stuff, there was supposed to be a scene where Sentinel Prime actually kills off both of them. And, you know,
wasn't Sentinel Prime in the third movie?
Yeah, well, they were actually killed off in the third movie off screen. They didn't get killed off in the second one.
I thought they got killed off in the second one.
Yeah, I know everyone thinks that Devastator ate them, but no, that's a Mandela effect for some people that only seen them.
Okay.
Revenge of the Fallen. Some people they fell asleep during it, so it's just.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't the best.
Yeah. So, but it's
all that globe trotting, and you know, everyone remembers the balls.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's why everyone remembers what Michael Bay intended you to remember. But it's just so like I firmly believe that it's more just a matter of time before those guys get made into toys. Primarily because and the way that I look at it is I think that Hasbro had a little bit of and it has nothing to do with the controversy part. It more has to do with just the retail memory. Mudflap was one of those like legendary shelf warmers. Like you could go on my Twitter. Maybe I'll post it too with the segment. But if you go on my Twitter and you just type like shelf warming Mudflap, you'll just see like a wall of them. There was at one point that he was just, and it was specifically Tuner Mudflap. That was the one that was really bad. It was like a repaint. And I think that they probably went, you know what? I think we need to play it safe with these guys because last time they didn't sell well. But I feel that the entire Studio Series line, sooner or later, everyone's going to get their figures done. It's just some more than others. Because the same argument could be like if those characters, you know, if they were so controversial and stuff, why did, you know, a year or two after the movie had come out, did they get their Human Alliance toys? You know, they did get other stuff made afterwards. You could argue, oh, well, the R&D was already done and made and they don't want to waste it. Man, there's been tons of movie toys that were made, put into R&D, and then never, the trigger wasn't pulled afterwards. You know, like like when I went to HasCon, there were so many movie toys on display that were never finalized in the end. That movie Blaster kills me that never happened. That was so cool. So, like, it's just, to me...
How was that movie Blaster supposed to look?
It was just pretty much a repaint, retool of the Mercedes-Benz Soundwave from Dark.
Was it all yellow or something, or all red?
More of a red. Okay, I think I posted images, like, when I was down there. I don't remember. But it was, again, like, to me, it's like, oh, man, like, there was a lot of cool... There was a lot of cool stuff. And that wasn't, they didn't release that just because it's because they're just like, you know, there's some stuff we just don't have the time for, or the release date, or they felt that the money...
It wasn't like Mercedes was like, nah, we don't do this anymore, and it never happened.
It was just Dark of the Moon wasn't selling well. You know, it was Dark of the Moon came out around at the time that like Toys to Life became really hot, Amiibo, Skylanders, so the market shifted heavily.
Right.
And so people were just really not buying toys. So while, you know, 2007 movie and Revenge of the Fallen did well in sales, Dark of the Moon had 3 waves and then just kind of petered out. Some of those leftover figures ended up in like the Pacific Rim regions of stuff, but other like specifically like, you know, China, Philippines, not really Japan. But it's something where these guys still ended up getting little toys here and there, Fast Action Battler, you know, we're going to do an RPM here. So I think it's just them going, hey, you know, we need to space out this Studio Series line. We need to put out, and not to mention, look, we just got Devastator in Studio Series, every piece of him. So sooner or later, they're going to put out those 2 characters, and I'm going to see and I know what's going to happen. They'll put out those 2 characters, and they'll have a nice display at, you know, at Toy Fair or Wonder Festival in the future or whatever, when the world opens up, and they'll have those 2 toys climbing on Devastator, you know, in some display. Like, it'll happen. I don't think the controversial nature I've always felt has just been more people looking for excuses.
Because, I mean, I think in the general sense of it, like, outside of the fandom, no one really talks about these 2. I have never really heard anyone's like, oh man, that second movie and those two like never, they never come up,
and
really,
not
at
to mention, even from a historical standpoint, like when you think about the two trademarks, like Skids was a character in Generation 1 that had very little screen time. He was a little better in the comic books, like in terms of like appearances and lines, but in the TV series, like you could literally, I made a clip on my Twitter where it was like you could sum up Skids and G1 in like a 2-minute clip, like literally, and I mean every appearance and every line. So like right away that was difficulty. And the Trademark, it stayed alive because they would just throw it on characters every so often. Even Robots in Disguise had a character called Skids with a Z, just to keep that trademark going. And it was the Formula One car that was purple. He was known as Indy Hito in Japan. And then you have the Mudflap trademark. That was something that was only made in 2006. It was used for a Cybertron toy, and then they just kind of kept it alive. They just like, oh, we're gonna just, we're gonna throw it on this, we're gonna throw it on that. So it's something where today, the Mudflap trademark, I don't know, I'd have to check what its current status is, but the Skids one is alive and well. They constantly keep that alive, mostly from the Generation 1 influence. But it's just, those trademarks are there. Sooner or later they're gonna go, hey, it's time to do those movie characters, and they'll throw it on. A studio series is a line that unfortunately has a finite amount of slots that are available, because the rule with studio series, it has to be movie appeared characters. That's the rule.
Right.
And when you run out of those, there's nothing else to do. And that's why I feel like they even did that Studio Series 86 line, was I think they probably looked at the grand scheme of things and went, we're running out of characters. Maybe if we do some of the animated movie stuff, that'll buy us like a couple years. And I mean, rightfully so, that, because it's still Studio Series, technically it's still a movie, and that right away buys them some time. I mean, when you even think about it, like, look, like, no offense to JAWZ from the 86 movie, but how many scenes did he have? But yet he was literally wave one of Studio Series.
He lived.
He lived.
One movie where he lived.
JAWZ to Moonbase too. Like
one movie where he lived.
But and Cliff Jumper.
Thanks, Daniel. You saved our lives.
And it's funny too. Cliff Jumper also, who died in the Bumblebee movie, but lived in the. Lived in this one. The two Porsches were on Moonbase too. But anyways, the point is that, like, to me, I feel that they're going to come sooner or later. And even the Ice Cream Twins version, I think all of those are going to happen. It's just they're biding their time. It's them, like, now we have this new Rise of the Beast movie coming out. That's going to right away create a whole new slew of toys that could be done in Studio Series. But they're looking the long game, because, there's just these lines right now that are really quintessential with the Transformer brand and retailers, and they want to be able to keep those lines that are selling well. Studio Series is selling very well. It always does well. That, like, stock comes in, there might be one or two characters that don't sell well, like a drop kick or something that shelf warm a little bit, but in general,
and it's affordable. It's I think that's the better part of it. It's very affordable. It's not like, oh boy, gotta like Masterpiece, it feels like it's kind of priced out because it's gone so hardcore.
Masterpiece,
and it's hyper engineered, I would say, because you gotta have,
it's over engineered.
You really like. I kind of understand why, because it's like, hey, we haven't had a good Dinobot ever, so we gotta like knock this one out of the park, and they did, and you're paying a premium for it, and I would say the premium is justified because of everything that's come out before it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, but at the same time, it's like, I've had this discussion in the past with people. I feel that Masterpiece is also slowly focusing on a different market. It's not really the Western market isn't the wallet that they're aiming at. It's more so, again, the Pacific Rim region and China more so, and that's why the movie Masterpieces do so well, because the analytics of that is China is the primary buyer of movie Masterpiece toys. So it says that that's their market and stuff.
That's new. I guess that's their G1.
They love that. Yeah,
that's their kind of their G1.
China had G1 in small little pieces, but like the movie really is what did it for them. And that's
what I mean by
their
G1, I mean it's like it's their nostalgia. It's the thing that came out really big. Everyone was around for that. You have people you could talk to about it and reference it, I would assume.
But
so that's pretty cool.
I mean, long answer short, I didn't really find them too controversial. Did you?
in retrospect, not really. I think I was like, I mean, it's here and it's gone.
Well, you know what it is?
How dare you?
Again, when I look at other Bay characters and how just
if anything, I was more offended that JAWZ died in the first movie. He wasn't even coming back.
It's not only that, like because I look at you look at what's his name? Oh my God, little Joe Pesci car humper. Wheelie, yeah.
Wheelie?
I imagine it's like, oh yeah, his name was Wheelie. I forgot. When you look at Wheelie and it's like, here's Wheelie and he's like, little Italian humping everything. And then you got like Hot Rod, who's like stereotypical French guy. Like the movies are filled with these, and it's like South Park. It's like everyone's going to get offended at some point. It's not your turn yet. Sooner or later, there's going to be a Portuguese Transformer. His name's going to be like Man-O-War. They'll give him some stupid racist ass, and you just got to go, whatever.
Like I just think that in the grand scheme of things, they're not that controversial. Wasn't there a story? Wasn't there like some kind of story behind it where they were trying to get somebody to voice in and it just didn't work out?
I don't know about that. The thing is with the voice acting side of the movie stuff, the second you're not talking like Peter or Optimus and Megatron, Peter and Frank. They just kind of just grab whoever, and it's sad because sometimes you end up like finding out afterwards, oh, that was so-and-so, and he had like one line, and it's like actually like a C-list celebrity. Like Hot Rod was voiced by, oh God, I wish I could pronounce his name, but
it's a French actor?
It's like a French African actor. And
is it the guy that plays Lupin?
No, oh my God, someone's gonna correct me in the comments.
Let me see if I could find it real quick. I'm gonna clickety clack over here a little bit.
Yeah, but it's like and it's the same thing where like I remember some people were asking me, they're like, oh, did you like that they made Hot Rod French? And I'm like, look, the actor was a French dude. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want me to effing say at that point? Like it's just that's the choices they make.
Last night.
Yeah.
I was spot on.
Yeah.
Omar C.
There you go.
Omar Sai.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Sai.
If you're having a problem,
it's the if you ever seen. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I get this right. I don't want to say it's the dude and I'm wrong. Hold on a second. Yeah, yep. I'm completely right. It's the dude. So the Lupin show on Netflix. That's him.
Okay, so there you go.
And he also played in the movie The Untouchables, which got remade with what's his name? Kevin Hart and what's his name? Oh man, the guy that played Hal in Malcolm in the Middle. He was also the dentist in Seinfeld.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. The Drake, which was the dentist, anti-dentite.
Yeah. What's his? Oh, come on.
Zordon.
Yeah.
Power Rangers. Yeah, I know who you're talking about though. He also did voices in Power Rangers. Anyways, the point being is, I think it's going to happen. I think toys will happen, and I really don't think the controversial stuff is something that's really slowing them down. I really think it's just Hasbro really, really just trying to pace themselves, and the reality is that, they want to do the really popular
Bryan Cranston, sorry.
Bryan Cranston, there you go.
Bryan Cranston, jeez.
There you go. It's gonna keep you up all night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope that answers your question, Rampage. I mean, that's why I brought JAWZ.D on, that way we could have a different side of the opinion, someone that actually is from that side of the world and that culture and that stuff. So it's not just my white butt, just here's my opinion. Here's what I actually think.
Yeah, so like for me, it was just disappointed, but it was just like,
as a white man, I wasn't offended.
This.
As a white man, I wasn't offended at all. So it's, but that's just it. Like, it's the way I see it. And again, if you really want those characters, they have so many toys already that existed. Revenge of the Fallen made 1 million versions of those characters, and I think up to this point, both the Human Alliance ones are fantastic of both of them. I have them both. And Human Alliance, I always felt.
Do you think they would just redo those, or they would?
No, I think they're
make it better.
They'll do something.
If they actually did,
they'll do something from the ground up that's more of a deluxe class. That's what I think. And I really hope they actually do the ice cream truck, because
I think that would be the better way to go.
Yeah, I like that toy a lot, but the original ice cream truck toy was like 2 scouts kind of put together to sell as a deluxe. Where I'd really like something where if they did like 2 deluxe price points put together to make a Voyager. And because again, the higher the budget, the more the toy could really shine. And I think it could be done, and it would be fun. have a little pink ice cream truck, 2-pack, Voyager scale. I dig it. Again, I don't hate those characters. I'm not crazy about them either, but I mean, when I think of characters that I don't like in Transformers, they don't
they don't come up on my radar really. Kind of like, oh yeah, those guys exist.
Yeah, they're just kind of there. They're just it's like a different flavor of ice cream. It's not a flavor I like, but it's there to just kind of have something different in a movie of like other characters that also like it's at the same time, it's like how great was Sideswipe as a character in Revenge of the Fallen? How great was Bumblebee as a character in the
Was Sideswipe a character, or is he just saying I'm too cool for this?
Yeah, it's like
skating around.
Darn, I'm good. Damn, I'm good, or something. I don't know. Anyways,
a character.
We'll cut it off at that. But that's pretty much it. So I hope that answers your question, Rampage. And again, if you want to be like Rampage and join the Patreon and ask a Patreon listener question, or just want to support the podcast and hang out in the Discord, patreon.com/Protoman. Check the pinned comment or description below. Thank you, JAWZ.D, for coming.
Anytime.
And hopefully we'll have you again in the future. And again, just a reminder for some people, we might have a live stream tonight. So be sure to swing by Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we'll talk Transformers and just hang out.